Hi there, I'm Professor Juris, and I wanted to make you a quick video about cable releases and how to properly use them and how they work. So to start out with, I have a few different cable releases here. I have the standard air release, um, and I have this heavy duty cable release here, and then I have this type of cable release. So let's explain those first, how they work. So the purpose of the cable release is to fire the camera without having to touch the shutter button on the top. So on most 35 millimeter cameras that you'll find, film cameras, what you're going to find is that the shutter button actually is threaded, so that you can actually screw the cable release into it, and then you can use that to fire this. And you can get these in different lengths. I have one that's about 60 inches, I think, and I use that a lot if I'm, doing some shots and I want to get a little bit of wear. I don't want to bend over. Like, say, if you're doing a shot of some mushrooms on the ground and your camera's really low to the ground, if you don't feel like bending over all the time, once you have it in focus, you can, if you have a longer cable release, you can stand up. And like the air cable release, the way that actually works is, you squeeze this air bulb and you'll see the thing come out, the plunger that'll actually fire the shutter. So I've used these a lot back in the day when I was doing a lot of self-portraits. Very nice, and I never minded having this in there. It was always like part of the picture that I was actually firing the camera. But you could certainly hide this and everything, and even step on it if you wanted to. If you didn't want to include it in your photograph. But the way that the cable release works, or the purpose of the cable release, is so you don't bump the camera a lot and get a lot of jittering and shaking and camera movement when you're taking a picture. So by using a cable release, you can fire the camera without actually having to hit the shutter button, and sometimes that'll rock the camera a little bit and maybe put a little camera shake in it. So the first thing that you'd want to do though is actually screw that in there. And the way that these cable releases work, this is a lock-in cable release, so when I fire this, it actually stays down until I hit this little plunger, and that'll release it. So if we watch the little plunger up here, when I fire this, it comes out and it stays there. So this works really good for the bulb setting, and then I have to hit this again to release that. So what does that mean actually? I have a sheet of white paper here, and I put this in here for specifics for this video. So I'm going to first of all screw this cable release into here. And then I have the camera set on the bulb setting on the shutter dial. So it's set on B for bulb. And now I'll cock the camera. Now I'm just going to put this over here and open the back of the camera up, and you'll be able to see the shutter then. So when I'm on the bulb setting with using a cable release, as long as you hold the button down, it keeps the shutter open. Well, if you've got your finger on there and you're a little, anxious or something, a lot of times on the bulb setting, people will bump the camera, or the camera gets disturbed a little bit. And you have to remember the intensification of shock and stuff with your camera. So even though it's very minute for your finger, if you're holding that button down, if it's very intensified in the camera on the piece of film, so that even moving a distance of a hair, or shaking the camera the distance of a hair, the thinness of a piece of hair will actually create an out of focus picture. So if you want the sharpest possible picture, use a cable release. So this is on the bulb setting, so all I have to do is fire it. See, I was doing like a minute exposure, a 3-minute exposure, or a 30-second exposure. I fire it, the shutter stays open. We can see the white paper right there now. So the shutter is open, and the shutter stays open until I hit this little plunger right here, and then that will close the shutter. So it's quite that simple. Now with an air release, if I had an air release on there, what happens if I'm using it on the bulb setting is I actually squeeze it, and I have to keep it down, squeezed to keep that plunger out. If I release it, then the thing goes down. So there's really no locking mechanism on an air release. And then with this particular cable release here, and I like these the least, I prefer this type of cable release, and the ones you get like this that are covered with a little bit of plastic, and you can see there's like a braided cable cover in there, they will last you the longest. But the reason I don't like this one is it's a little bit harder to work with. So when I fire it, you know, it is good for just firing if I want to hold it down. But in order to lock it, what I have to do is I have to, this is kind of on the camera, why don't we actually do it? So let me screw this back on the camera right here. And I'm going to cock the shutter. And again, I'm on the bulb setting. So with this one, when I push the shutter down, if I want that shutter to stay open, what I need to do is I need to twist this little lock thing right here. So it's not automatic, and then it will stay open, and then I have to go back and actually twist the lock thing in order for it to close the cable release. So it's not quite as convenient as the automatic one, where I, you know, when I fire it, it stays down until I push that little release thing. So these are probably the nicest cable releases if you're going to buy one. So anyway, I hope that helps your understanding of cable releases. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button, please. And then hit the notifications if you want to be notified when my next videos come out. Thank you.